See if I can sit up here. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Death by Bunjie. This is a shot analysis video. Are you excited about that?
Yeah.
Kind of excited. This is a fun one. We're looking at the third ever Death by Bunjie meet and greet, the Boar hunts, of Genevieve and I. Both of us had success. This is the exit wound, so that's a 3-inch hole from the swacker going through. And we're going to watch the video here on the old laptop. We're going to play it, and we're going to go through it. If you remember in the video, I explained how Genevieve's crossbow had a little bit of a problem.
Just a small problem.
Yeah, Bunjie Jr. had a little bit of a problem. Explain what that problem was real quick.
So the night before the meet and greet, I was sighting in. It was giving me fits all afternoon. I was real mad at it. And I started to cock it again, and the limb broke. That is an interesting twist in Crossbow Appreciation Month, and an interesting twist before the night before the meet and greet.
We got an Excalibur Micro with a broken limb. It is what it is. We got limbs coming. Got limbs actually received.
Yep.
We're going to be doing a video about that down the road. But we're not going to dwell on that here. You recovered nicely and entered the woods that day in north central Pennsylvania on a hog hunt using what crossbow?
Bunjie. No, I used Bunjie the third, and it's a Scorpion Deathstalker. I'd only shot it a couple of times, but I did pretty good.
I think you did good. All things considered, that's explained in that video. Yeah. If you haven't seen that video already, you should go watch it. It's a lot of fun. Plus, it will explain a lot about what we're talking here. But in this video, we're going to look at the shots. Specifically, we're going to look at the shots that were taken in rapid succession.
Yeah.
Rapid succession. This all
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
Well, Genevieve and I are set up in a nice little blind here. Describe that blind for folks so they know how these shots were taken.
First off, the windows are pretty tall. Like, they're up in the air pretty good. It's like more of a rifle blind, I think, more than anything. But it's looking straight ahead towards a road, and then just past the road, there is basically a cliff full of rocks and everything like that. And then up the hill to our right, there's a lot of brush, and it sort of levels off up to the top. And you go back down the hill on the road, and that's where we came in, back that direction.
So your understanding, when we first set up, you knew we were going to have to take a shot out of that blind, obviously, if one presented itself. Mm-hmm. And you'd have to lift the crossbow up pretty high. Yeah. We had chairs to sit on that were the adequate height. But I think for rifle hunters, if you're resting the rifle on the windowsill in front of you, sticking that rifle out there, it wouldn't be too bad a shot. It wouldn't be too ineffective for that. A little difficult for crossbows. And you were sitting off to my right, so you had a blind spot to your right out in front of you.
Yeah, yep. And I was looking towards the left, towards the closer part of the road. That's where I was expecting a shot to take place.
20 yards or so.
Yeah, 25, I think.
20, 25.
Something like that.
In front of us, the road goes out to 40, but now looking back, Genevieve really couldn't see the road out to 40.
Not really.
Where we were at the other side of that road, because that was kind of in her blind spot. You can see the Boars are coming down the hill, and they were making their way from the upper right there.
I couldn't see any of this.
Couldn't see it at all in her blind spot. They're coming in, and she explains that nicely in the video, I think. But they come in a lot closer than what you were expecting now, don't they?
Yeah. Oh, they're all bristled up.
They're all bristled up. They're quite agitated. They ran into some other hunters at the top of the hill and decided to come our way. I stopped them. Now, tell a little bit, one of the problems I think that Genevieve had here, I didn't set this up nicely for her because she and I had agreed that she would stop them. Yep. She would be responsible for doing that so that she would know when to take that shot. I let you down, didn't I?
Yeah.
Exactly.
We were both looking at different pigs, too. I think you grunted to like the third in line or something, and I was the only one I could see was the first in line.
Basically, I was looking for the closest one. I figured the one was going to give you a broadside shot. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a couple different shot angles. We really did good with the Tacticams. I did a terrible job, first of all, when we talk about shot analysis. If we're speaking about camera shot analysis, I did a poor job because I didn't even get your impact on film. Because the boar that she shot at, the one that was in her view, wasn't even in my view of the camera. So I don't even have that on film. But we had two Tacticams set up outside the blind.
Yep.
We had another one mounted on her crossbow. So if you look at these, you can see here, if you're looking at this video, that is the most valuable footage, I think, is probably your Tacticam. If we look, there are other shots of it and angles. You can see that impact from the wide view Tacticam. Hits him up front in the jaw. But I think the safest one really is your Tacticam, the
Yeah.
Tacticam that was mounted on the Scorpion on Bunjie the 3rd.
Yeah.
Now let's analyze what we're looking at here. The Boar is, according to your Tacticam, kind of broadside.
Mostly broadside.
What's not broadside on him?
Well, obviously his head's turned towards me, looking at me, and because of that, just the front of his front shoulders turned towards me too a little bit.
Yeah.
And his neck.
He's turned pretty good. And he looks broadside, but his hindquarters are broadside. Mm-hmm. The middle of him is kind of
curled
broadside,
around.
But he's curled up, and you can't, if you look, his front legs are actually almost squared up on you.
Almost.
He's turning, not toward you. Look how bristled up he is, too. You can see some hair on the back of his neck. But he's turned pretty good towards you. That's got to affect your shot. Now, where are you aiming on this? Can you just kind of describe
I was aiming right about there.
So she is aiming behind.
A little bit forward. I was aiming right there.
Right there.
Yep.
Okay, I've now placed the cursor here, and I am going to screenshot this. Kaboom. I screenshotted it where we paused it. Genevieve has indicated to me that the cursor is now pointed directly at where she was aiming. Mm-hmm. Now, that's a good aim spot, okay? Mm-hmm. I think that you're aiming good there. You picked a good spot, a point of aim, because you're now in the front of the vitals, pretty much. You're in the middle of that lung on this side. You'll hit the back of the other lung if you connect there. You're going to hit some meat. Yep. You're going to hit a pork butt there. Isn't it funny how they call the butt the shoulder?
And it's not
the butt.
Yeah.
But it's up front. But the pork butt, you'll be hitting that pork shoulder, which is, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. It's better to have most of the hog available later on. That's better than having no hog. But it's a good shot because there's vitals behind there. And if you were to connect on that shot, you're doing a great job. Now, do you think that his posture affected your ability to hit that mark?
Kinda, yeah.
Let's see how this plays out on your Tacticam. I'll try and stop it again. Boom. Your arrow, if we look at it, pretty far forward.
Pretty far left of where I was aiming.
Pretty far, forward on the board, but pretty far to the left. I agree. I wouldn't say pretty far. I would say it was an inch or two.
Yeah, it's not as bad as it looks when he strains his neck out, but... Yeah.
If we look at just this shot right here, we can see that the arrow, the shaft of the arrow went in his jaw. You hit him in the jaw. Yeah. And it goes, but look at the angle on it. It's angled back real nice.
Right. Yep.
And we can tell, too, based on the pictures that we took afterward, you got a pass-through of sorts.
Yeah. There was blood on the other side of his face, like out back. Yeah.
Out behind his ear, I think,
basically,
on the other side.
Yep.
So his neck. So you basically went through and did a lot of damage on the way through. What broadhead were you using?
The Rage Trypan, 150 grain.
150 grain. That's the steel version of it. We do not have that broadhead. Out of this?
No, that's in there somewhere. And I'm hoping somewhere, floating around in there someplace. But I got the head back from this boar, and I'm going to do a skull mount on it, and I'm hoping it's in there someplace.
It'd be neat to preserve that part of the mount, maybe. And also to observe the damage. We will do videos on it down the road, maybe. Yeah? Yeah, that makes some good video content. But you're also going to be taking the hide off of that skull. Yep.
And I will be doing just a regular shoulder mount on it.
Yes. Who's going to do that? Are you going to take that to a taxidermist? No.
I am. I am going to be a taxidermist.
She is going to be the taxidermist for this boar hunt. That's going to be pretty cool. You can notice that this boar, after he gets hit, he postures up. Look at his posture, how he's hunched right up. Yep. Getting ready to take off.
And his head goes down quite a bit, too.
His head goes down quite a bit. He's dropping and getting ready to take off, which he does take off, and he lunges forward. Now, he's taking off with that luminoc. We see the luminoc go through the woods. So you were watching him good because the reason I know that is because if you look right there, you got a glimpse of something as he was running away because you commented on it.
Yeah, I could see blood dripping down.
Yeah, there's a lot of blood coming out of that. So I think your shot was far enough back to hit some really big arteries going down the neck. Something. Yep. You also went through the jaw. I mean, this thing's poking out the other side, so it cut a swath through there. This boar would have died from that shot, most likely.
It was pretty much dead by the time I took the second shot.
Yeah, the second shot, we did have to do a follow-up shot, which we won't analyze. That one was a great shot because you were standing on a stump. Yeah. So that took a little bit of careful consideration before
Yeah.
she executed that shot. She had the assistance of a guide who we trust because we dealt with him several times.
Yep.
Love the guy to death. Love the folks at the Tioga Boar Preserve. Great bunch of people. Great time had by all, and they really helped make that happen. But that was, without a doubt, a good ending to it because it was a swift ending.
Yep.
So overall, what would you have done differently? Can you look back at this?
I think I would have waited just even a half second longer, just to get even a little bit more steady. I don't think I would have passed on the opportunity. Even though I was really surprised by it, like right there, I still would have taken the shot, but I just would have waited just a little bit longer.
Was there a different boar available, though?
There were. Yep, this was a group of 4.
Well, I understand that, but did you have a shot? Could you see?
Oh, not at that time.
Is this the only one you could see?
I could see maybe the head of the second one,
Okay.
but
All right. So
not enough to shoot.
without the opportunity to stop a second one, so be it.
And there's no guarantee you can stop him again either.
Okay. Well, I will do my best. I will endeavor to improve my performance and not interrupting your shot process here. So in the future, hopefully that won't happen. You don't always hunt with your dad, though. So
No.
some of these things you're doing this you're on your own.
Nice and quiet in the blind.
I'm learning. So they run off and they stayed in a group. So we weren't done. It wasn't as though we were one and done. I picked up Bunjie and I was going to take a shot at your boar. If he presented a follow-up shot, I was going to take that follow-up shot and help you collect that boar more efficiently. If that would have presented an opportunity, I would have done it. But what happens is they run off. As you can see here, they take off and they all run off and they sort of regroup at a 20-yard line here, but they're all in a big old clump. Now I'm scrambling. I give you the camera.
Yep.
You're doing a much better job with the camera than I am. And then we get you set up with the camera. I lift up Bunjie.
Dad starts climbing out of the blind again.
I don't like to sit and be so confined by a blind. Bunjie likes to express itself, to get out there and show the world what he's doing, to express himself.
And Bunjie Jr.
And Bunjie Jr.
Yeah.
Bunjie
It's an
Jr.
Excalibur thing.
Yeah, Bunjie Jr. expresses himself by breaking limbs. So...
Thanks.
But anyway, they do group up nicely, but then they're wandering off. And I think you shot the lead boar. I think you shot the leader of the pack. And what happens is the other 3 are just wandering around thinking, what's he doing? Where is he going? Where are we going to go from here? What's the plan?
Yeah.
And they're waiting for him to react. And they're waiting to see if he's still alive or
we
not.
can't tell which one is mine either.
Right. And all I'm seeing is butts as they're wandering off. They get to the 25-yard line. They hit that road at 35. And then they stop on the other side of the road, which we knew to be 40 yards. I had range found that and used the rangefinder on that previously.
Clear over there.
So I already knew that was the 40-yard line. I was expecting you to be able to take the shot at 40 yards, and I was expecting a 10-yard shot at some point during the day would be ideal for me. They line up. This is finally I get the opportunity when they have not only lined up and gone to the 40-yard line, but they finally dispersed. I didn't want to shoot one boar with the other one right behind it because in case I got a pass there, I don't want to wound another one. You don't want to do that. And I figured if this was your boar, I would take the shot either way. It didn't really matter whether it was yours or a different one. But I only want to shoot one. I don't want to hit 2 of them.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make a bad shot. I don't want to take a bad shot. I don't want to take a shot where I'm looking at just their hind end. I want to be able to take a broadside shot. I got a perfect one here. You can kind of see it from the first camera angle where they are lined up, where I'm looking in the first camera angle in your view. You couldn't see the head of that boar, but you could kind of see the one I was shooting at least with the camera.
Yep.
So we don't have the right lens on that. We got to talk about cameras down the road to get more zoom ability. Jim Walton from Backyard Broadheads. I love your camera. I'm so jealous. So we're going to be looking at video cameras too, to sort of add to the Death by Bunjie camera arsenal. I'm thinking down the road. But I take that shot at 40 yards. Now, to be fair, I knew with 100% certainty this was 40 yards. This was exactly a 40-yard shot. I also knew that I was accurate with this crossbow, with this rig. Even though it's an older, slower crossbow, I knew I was accurate out to 40 yards because...
he did. He shot a boar target at 40 yards at the end of the crossbow range back home and hit a bullseye.
Yeah, and that was right the day before.
Yeah.
On
a
moment's
live
notice.
stream.
That was on a live stream.
Oh!
So that's called a bullseye at 40. Did you see the arc on that arrow? Back when we were allowed to do live streams with crossbows here on YouTube. Is what it is. Is what it is. We'll see if that comes back. I'm working on it. But nonetheless, that one, so we knew that without bragging, really, I was very impressed with that, but I'm really more impressed with the crossbow and its ability to maintain accuracy and be sighted in that easily. It's such a great piece of equipment. But that long range shot, long range, 40 yards, I felt pretty comfortable with. Also, I had an advantage over you. I was resting the crossbow. Well, they went from 25 to 40 yards as I'm watching them go away.
Time, yeah.
I had time. I knew where the shot, if it took place, I knew where it was going to take place. I wasn't calling out to them to stop them on a moment's notice, anything like that. I didn't have that last minute notice. And I was resting the crossbow on the windowsill.
Yep.
So basically, I knew that as long as it was level and not canting, I was going to make an accurate shot. It's not going up and down. I wasn't wiggling all over the place. I felt you were shooting freehand.
Yeah, I wasn't even resting on my knee.
And she's shorter than me.
Yeah, I was
so she's got
really
to
sitting up there. Yeah.
It's tough to get your head up over that, to look into that scope on a crossbow you hadn't shot before. You made a great shot, all things considered. I had more time. I had the easier shot, which is, in a sense, but a longer shot. Everything was kind of not what we expected. You got to be prepared for these little things that pop up in crossbow hunting, though. That's how it works. So I take that shot, and you can see it going through the green luminoc, in this case is mine. You know, I was thinking about this. She likes green. I like red. So but I ended up shooting the green luminoc on a 577 grain spinal tap. And she ended up shooting
at
red
40 yards.
Yeah, the red fire knock on the Scorpion. You don't even have the colors right.
Or the broadheads. I wanted to use the swackers first, but...
Schwahacker? I'm a swahacker kind of guy. So you have made fun of the arc of my arrow. And as you can see from the video, there is quite an arc to that. We'll watch it slow-mo here. Now, I want to be clear about one thing. When you first see that arrow come out of the crossbow and you see the trail go like this, people have commented in the past, Rich, you need to get your arrows tuned because that jiggle means that the arrow's not flying straight. That is not what we are seeing.
That's the crossbow vibrating.
That is the crossbow vibrating and vibrating the camera that's mounted to the crossbow. The camera is trying to recover from all of that vibration when the shot takes place. That's what you're seeing. The arrow is flying straight as an arrow.
Yeah.
I don't think we have too much trouble with that. So that shot goes off, and I got to tell you, there's a lot of art with that, and it takes a long time. So you do have that heavier arrow going off. And I will say I'm very impressed with the performance overall. Really, the accuracy is what always impresses me first and foremost. But man, it hangs that arrow right exactly perfect. If we look and stop it, you can see that boar lunges forward a little bit, just a little bit before that arrow gets there. But you can also see, if you look at that, a tremendous amount of penetration. Mm-hmm. The luminoc and the fletchings are about all that is sticking out of that boar. By the time that boar leaves the area, the other end of that arrow is sticking out the other side of that boar. Yep. It went through his front shoulder with a 150 grain, 3-inch cutting diameter swacker when it came out the other shoulder. Very impressed with that performance. Are heavy arrows required for hunting boars? Not necessarily. I don't even know that not everybody agrees that a 577 grain arrow rig is a heavy arrow. There's people out there that say that's too light.
Oh, yeah.
But it is what it is. I mean, it's certainly an option. It certainly performed here. I had these on hand. I knew that they were going to perform, and that's the reason I used them for this hunt.
They're very accurate.
Very accurate.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was easy to dial it right in. When you slow them down like that, they become a lot easier. If you're having accuracy issues, consistent accuracy issues with your crossbow, keeping consistent accuracy, then heavier arrows can help solve that because they slow it down. And it's just easier to control a slower arrow than it is a faster arrow, in my opinion.
You know what else helps?
What?
Intact limbs.
They do help. Yeah, we learned that.
Yeah.
Dead or dying limbs don't do you much good in crossbow hunting.
Not really.
So,
no.
But this one goes right on here. We did get the pass through. And I will make one other comment about this. Front of center. If you're not having accuracy issues, maybe front of center is not a primary concern as a crossbow hunter. I get that. That makes sense. If you are concerned about penetration, well, momentum is two things. Speed times weight, right? It's mass times velocity. So those are really equally weighted in that consideration. You get a faster crossbow, you're going to increase your momentum. Yes. You get a heavier arrow, you are going to increase your momentum within certain parameters, right? I mean, there's a diminishing return in this business too. With that happening with these heavier arrows, getting that extra momentum really, really helps. But notice that in the equation of mass times velocity, front of center is not part of that equation. Okay, so it's not really the primary concern. But here's where front of center helps with penetration. Are you ready? I think this really demonstrates it.
I think so too.
What happened? You know what I'm going to say?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to try it and tell them what it is?
I'm thinking that because it's already in there all the way pretty much, and the other end's sticking out, because it's so heavy on the other end, gravity sort of pulls it up and out.
Wow, so that's well put. I think that's true. I think that's the value of front of center in something on a situation like this. Mm-hmm. Is it going to matter in a deer where it blows through the deer, a broadside shot, sticks in the ground on the other side? Who cares? Who cares, right? It's already through the deer. But in this case, where I'm using an older, slower crossbow, the arrow is 20 inches long. It pokes out the other side of the animal, right? But the fletchings, it doesn't have enough oomph to get it all the way through the animal. What happens is that these are very front of center weighted arrows, these spinal taps. They balance nicely. The weight's very much up front with a very heavy insert in the front end of that shaft of that arrow. A 150 grain broadhead adorns the end of that arrow. There's a lot of weight up front on these arrows. And all that weight's jangling, hanging out the other side.
Yep.
As he's running off, that weight is just bouncing up and down, and it's working that arrow the rest of the way out.
Yep.
So there's your pass through. And wow, did we get a blood trail?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We got a nice blood trail.
Did the broadhead open?
Did the broadhead open? Yeah. I'm thinking it did.
It'll be real fun to stitch up when I have to mount it.
Yeah. She's going to mount that one too. Yeah. So she'll be doing some sewing on mine. I think a very good rule of thumb for crossbow hunting is the more sewing your taxidermist has to do because of your broadhead, the better job you did. You like that? That's a good rule of thumb.
Thanks.
Support your local taxidermist by creating.
Get your money's worth.
Get your money's worth with larger wound channels.
Yeah, and always make sure it's 3 blades instead of 2. So it's a nice triangle that I got to stitch up instead of a straight line.
Oh, do taxidermists? You think you'll prefer the 2 blade?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
If it's a straight line, you can just stretch it and sew it up. But if it's 3, like a Y shape, you got to mess around with it more.
Okay, that's fair enough. Well, I look forward to hearing more about that down the road. Pretty neat. But I think this really, in all seriousness, does give you some reason to believe that front of center matters. If you're getting accurate without front of center considerations, and you're getting accurate shots that way without those considerations, if you are getting pass-throughs on the animals that you hunt, where you hunt them, then maybe it's not a big concern, right? I would not suggest that everybody needs to be concerned about that. In fact, I'm almost never concerned about it, to be honest with you.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
If it's not broke, don't fix it. 100%. Yeah, I agree. But this was really an impressive overall shot, and the exit wound was very nice. And I think in the end, this is cause for me to consider switching to Swahackers long term.
I think so.
At least for this season. We'll try.
It's at least worth considering.
It is.
Yeah.
I think there's a good argument to be made. I also can tell you, we've hunted with the Rages, love the Rages, but I think that the penetration, at least with the older, slower crossbow like Bunjie, where I have limited momentum at my disposal. The heavier arrow slows me down to around 250 feet per second making this shot. Most of you guys watching this are like, why in the world are you hunting with that crossbow? I get that. But man, on a moment's notice, it came out of retirement, got called to duty, and went out there and performed like this. You can't ask for much more than that. That's awesome. So I love having it around. It fits like a glove. I got that comment.
Gets the job done.
Gets the job done.
Yep.
Yeah, and it fits me like a glove. It is just something that feels comfortable to carry. It was a pleasure to take it back out there. And I'm taking it to Maine with me for the big old bear hunt.
Bunjie's going to get a bear.
Bungie's going to get a bear. Bunjie deserves a bear after a performance like this.
Oh, yeah.
I think so. And we are taking the Swahackers with us up to Maine. And I'm also using a Maine Hunter arrow for that. So we'll have more videos, maybe some more shot analysis, hopefully, later on down the road. Well, that was a fun one. Anything you want to add?
No, I think that covered everything.
Pretty much. We got some
don't really need to analyze my second shot, I don't think.
No, your second shot pretty much analyzes itself. That was a mercy shot, finishing it off. It was dead on the money, but a boar that was almost deceased anyway. It was just a finishing it off.
Yep.
Doing the right thing. So we're very happy with that. One shot, one kill club. Took me 3 meet and greets to get in the one shot, one kill club.
Yeah. I'm in the double tap now.
Double tap club after 2 seats. That's not bad.
That's not bad. It's an improvement.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Next year will be 1.
Next year will be 1.
Yeah.
Yep. I went double tap, single tap. But triple tap's not a bad place to start. Double tap.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, we're working up the ladder. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Death by Bunjie. And until next time, All hail Bungie.